Okay, ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to do a special video to make up for the lack of a live stream, because I do care for you all, sincerely and genuinely. Today we're going to go over spell templates, what they are, where they come from, and how they came to be. So here we have the spell creation. Um, this is where your Shade Mage will now begin to craft their spells. These spells are cast by the Shade, and they require no rolls. So when you go to cast a spell in this game, you don't roll. You simply spend the shade you've already earned. The spell is cast, and its effects take place immediately. Spells are divided by attributes. This is important. If you've played, as everyone knows, the Shades of Dominion is a heavily inspired by the card game Magic: The Gathering. Attributes are one of the five basic colors. Aether, which is blue, corruption, which is black, destruction, which is red, purity, which is white, and vitality, which is green. Each of these different dominions or colors were divided into three sub categories, and these are your attributes. More on those later. Your library points and shade capacity scores in each attribute will determine the extent of how strong a spell you make can be, and will also determine how many spells you are able to craft. For each library point, you can take one spell template. Your shade capacity determines how strong those spells can be, how much shade can be in a single spell that you create. So what we're gonna go over um, is not making a champion, not even the spell workshop. What we're gonna go over in just a moment is how I decided, or came up with which spell templates I would be including. And here we have the Aether spell templates. The first attribute is illusion. And we start off with Unchanneled, which are your instants, your free action spells. These are spells that can be cast at any point during any turn. Um, but what's far more important, what we're going to talk about a little deeper, is the process it took for me as a game creator to look at these spell templates. Let me pull something up real quick. Let me see if I can do this real quick. So this is part of the process of what I used to um to create the spell templates um that were ultimately put into the game. Um for this first batch we have the blue set, we have but even more than that. It's not just any blue card. These are blue cards that are specified or specialized into the attribute of illusion magic, invisibility, unblockable, um, getting getting island walk, becoming untouchable, that kind of thing. This process was done for every instant, for every sorcery, for every enchant creature, which are your aura spells, and for every shade summon, your creature spells. Just for the concept of illusion itself was done throughout the entire corpus of Magic: The Gathering cards, and then it was filtered. Uh, and not only was it filtered through, um, shall we say, just the illusion aspect or part of Magic: The Gathering, it was also done in conjunction with what is called the Law of Common. Now, the Law of Common is as follows. When creating the core set of spell templates for this game, a methodology was used called the Law of Common. This process meant sifting through all current common cards available for shade costs 1 through 3. Uh, Only the shade costs of 1 are released in the core set for each attribute set in the game. So, for a cost of 1 shade or 1 mana, that is a common, okay? It has to be a common card that costs 1, and it fits within the attribute theme of the color in question. So, for 1 shade, for 1 mana, is what was chosen as the kind of like the the ground level, uh, the base power level of the game was determined by looking at all of the cards available and saying what is the most powerful effect I can get for a single common, and so we don't break the game, so that it maintains continuity, so that if I were to use this same standard of using common cards, the power level won't break. That's how this game was structured. So for each of the different attributes, we're going to take you back to that. So for each of these attributes, and reminder, there are 3 for each of the 5 colors. So there's a grand total of 15 attributes to mix and match in the Shades of Dominion. And it was absolutely painstaking to go through each of these different aspects of the shade. You have illusion, you have knowledge, you have, which is basically card draw, and you just, oh my gosh. So even in the most basic of colors, we can say red. This is black, so let's go to destruction. Let's go to red. Destruction. The destruction has 3 attributes as well. The first is chaos. Now everyone knows what chaos is. It's haste. It's um, it's goblins. It's goblins. It's fury. It's Wispa's rage. It's getting damage. It's double strike. It's getting haste and increasing damage, and just uh, like everyone knows what chaos is in the game. They come out fast. They come out hard. They're usually weak and tiny, but you can get a lot of them out. And then you have combustion. Combustion's pretty basic. This is your typical burn deck. This is your lightning bolts. This is your elementals. This is your tremors. All that is in combustion. Flame weapon. Going berserk. Yeah, all of these things are part of combustion. But there is a third part of Magic the Gathering that is red that no one talks about, and it's called, in the Shades of Dominion, it's called the Passion attribute. This is the attribute where you are inspiring, where you are able to convert creatures over to your side for a turn. This is a side that also deals with card draw and discard, refreshing and exhausting your spells and so on and so forth. It's about tactics. It's about changing toughness and power. It's about destroying artifacts. This is the passion attribute. Um, Very underrepresented in the card game, but extremely important if you want to focus on character development. This is why the spell template system is so important and so critical. So, what we're going to talk about today is something that also fell between the cracks. And because we use the system of the law of common, because we used a filtration system that said, okay, only common cards, because we didn't want things to be too OP. Now, The great thing about having that being your standard is that it's a relatively low standard of power level if you want to compare it to the rest of the effects in the Magic the Gathering card game. Um, this allows you to also not only manage power level, but it also makes most of the high costing cards and effects in Magic the Gathering largely redundant. In other words, you can make a spell out of the Shades of Dominion core set by stacking spell templates on top of each other. Um, you can make more powerful spells that way than simply raw converting rare cards from the Magic the Gathering's card library. However, because of the way that the spell templates were made, mistakes were made. And when it comes to the knowledge attribute, we do need to take that base ceiling that we found making the spell templates and raise it a little bit higher. And because of the way that this process was done in the first place, this will not break the game. I'm very confident of this. Like we could raise this ceiling to the point where it needs to be so that character creation and character concepts mesh far better. We can raise that ceiling as much as we need to within reason. Um, because to be honest, the floor for this was so low to begin with. We base it off spells that cost one for common cards. So we're able to, if we need to, raise that ceiling just a little bit. And in consulting with my blue mage, um, Brainstorm is going to be slightly altered. Brainstorm says it's an unchanneled spell. He can cast it at any time. Uh, it says make 3 spell battery rolls, or in game terms, you would draw 3 cards and then exhaust any 2 ready spells, which in the game would be discard 2 cards. Um, this is not very good, and now it's a direct conversion from the card to the from the card to the template that inspired it. Let me see if I can pull it up. Do Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Let me go get the right one. So I will pull that up in just a minute. There we go. Let me get that for you. So here we have Brainstorm, and it says draw 3 cards, then put 2 cards from your hand on top of your library in any order. Now, in Shades of Dominion, discard versus on top of the library, it doesn't matter. They're exhausted, they're not in your hand, they're not refreshed in your library, so they're just discarded. Or they're exhausted, so to speak. So this is pretty much a direct translation. But it's not really strong enough in terms of role play. So we're going to fix that, and the reason for that is because um, when you're actually role playing it and you have an active library, Brainstorm takes up a slot in your library. So you make 3 spell battery rolls. You pray that they're all successful, that you don't get any ones, but you then must exhaust 2 of your spells. So when we went through that, it just seemed a little underwhelming. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the spell template itself. We're going to do a little altering. Um, make 3 spell battery rolls and then exhaust uh, a single single ready spell. That's the first change we're going to make. So you're going to make 3 spell battery rolls and then exhaust a single ready spell. And then we're going to go to another spell template, which is Late Night Study. Now, Late Night Study is this one right here. It is the, let me pull it up real quick. There we go. It is the Careful Study. So yes, Careful Study says draw 2 cards, then discard 2 cards from your hand. Now, this is a sorcery. This is a channeled spell. This is something that it isn't done as a free action, which is what makes Brainstorm wildly superior in that sense. And so, what we were thinking is, um, it doesn't really make sense to have this as a sorcery. Have a 2-for-2 ratio. You're going to have to exhaust 2 spells from your library anyway, and you don't know what you're getting if you're going to botch rolls in the spell battery rolls. So we're going to slightly change that. This Careful Study is going to be changed to Late Night Study. Let's go back to Late Night Study. This is going to be add +2 to your spell battery dice. Now, and it's implied that when you do this that it's until the end of combat. So combat/encounter. That's just mainly for your knowledge and mine. That's actually implied in the game. The Shademaster can end this Late Night Study effect whenever it's relevant. Whenever the players have time to breathe is essentially when it expires. So, add +2 to your spell battery dice. Now, what does that do? Again, it's a channeled spell. It takes a half action to cast. So what this does is every time you make one of those spell battery rolls that we were just talking about, you would roll 3 dice instead of 1 and choose the highest. So each of these spell battery rolls, you would be rolling 3 dice per roll and picking the highest and selecting the highest to to recharge one of your spells. So that's what late night study does. And that makes it far more useful, makes it far more, shall we say, competitive, and it makes it just, it helps flesh out the knowledge attribute from the Aether aspects. So we'll see how that does in power balancing. Xander is working on his spells and his new aspect which he was given. So that's just some slight amendments and a little history on how the spell templates were made and why we're gonna have to make why we might have to make some of these adjustments over time. Because some of the spells just might be underpowered, and that's okay. I'm okay having to scale up rather than scale down, because scaling down is not fun. You're removing possibilities from the players rather than expanding their horizons, and that's what I'd prefer to do. So, erring on the side of caution, we are scaling up, and that for me that's a good thing. So, just wanted to do that little update, a little errata, and hopefully we'll be throwing some shade this Thursday. I'm slammed with school, and I'm still looking for work. So those two things will keep me bound. This week we had my parents come back in from California because it was my grandmother's funeral. So my parents came home and they wanted to see their grandkids. So we went over and spent time with them rather than doing the live stream. No apologies, just sometimes that's life. Always, as always, guys, come throw some shade with us on Thursday nights. We love you. We love you. We care. And God bless. Bye bye.